Welcome back to the Bullpen Mafia. We are live from Little Havana Studios. Toad in the building with me. We got our intern, Marco Schutz, who has a hot mic. So we apologize in advance for anything that Marco says or doesn't say today. And as always, Petey joining us from the great Northeast. Petey, First of all, great fit. I love the polo.
Thank you very much.
I told you off air. I know you
Birkdale.
want to shout it out because I know you played in, across the pond. So Royal Birkdale. Second thing Petey wants to talk about today. Petey, flash that scorecard, baby.
Boys, I don't know if you can see it or how close you can get to it.
Closer, Petey.
Can we get an explanation for the people who are not watching this right now?
Yeah, so just a quick heads up. I'm not trying to toot my own horn too much, but on that scorecard today at the end of my name, at the end of that 18th hole, it says 69. Boys, I don't really know what to say. I'm still kind of speechless. I usually black out and start shitting down my leg about 13 or 14 when I'm out there. The thing is, like when I'm on the course, right, a lot of times, like if I'm playing well, when I get to 13 and 14, I start thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And when I start thinking about it, I try to do too much, and then it just gets ugly. And today, I don't know what it was. I was locked in. I was even thinking about it. Like I was thinking about it, but I was locked in. I was hitting putts. There might have been a generous, hey, pick that one up here and there. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and act like that. This 69 didn't come with a couple of, like just the friend zone in terms of the gimmies, but probably the best round of golf I've ever played in my life. Probably the best round I will ever play.
Let's give it up for Petey. Let's give it up. Clap it up, Shoots.
And Javi, thank you for the shout out for the polo. I am wearing it. It is open week. Got Royal Birkdale on here. Obviously got to represent. Been watching a lot of Golf Channel. Just love the practice rounds. We'll go to YouTube after this tonight. Throw a nice dip in. Watch Brian Harmon play. Liverpool Hoy Lake last year. Just get it going.
Petey, there's nothing better than after a really good round, just like you don't want to go to bed that night because you're like, I am riding a high. I don't know if I want this. I went on Saturday. I shot a 38 on the front. We only played 9.
Okay.
Was playing really good golf, 7, 8, and 9. It's almost like one of those things like I wish I was playing 18 because I want to ride it into the dude. Like once you get on a little heater, like when you're playing 9, that's one of the worst feelings. Like, damn, dude, if I had a couple more holes, like how low could I go? I got a couple more in me. Like, but dude, 69, that's big stuff, Petey. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. That's why you don't play 9, Javi. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. There's no point in playing 9, dude. It's
or
like
if you shoot a 38 on 9, like you might be telling the boys, like, hey, have fun. I'll see you a little bit later.
Spin it around.
Toad doesn't like all this golf talk, dude.
Toad's out. Yeah.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I'm in hot water in my group chats for being anti-golf, but I'm going to keep those hot takes to myself, and we'll talk about that another day.
All right.
We got a lot of sports this weekend. We had a big event down here in South Florida.
Quite the weekend.
Turned out to be kind of a black eye. Depends on who you ask. Depends on who was in charge. Hard Rock Stadium, known for hosting the largest events in the world. Toad, tell me if I'm wrong. Toad worked for the Dolphins, worked at Hard Rock Stadium.
Yes.
We're talking Super Bowls.
It is an international destination. We got F1, Miami Open, multiple Super Bowls. They got the World Cup coming in 2 years.
College football playoffs. Taylor Swift,
Beyonce.
Wow. Dude,
Bad Bunny gets a shout out, dude.
World class venue. So we hosted Copa America, Colombia versus Argentina, which was one of the biggest matches in recent memory, just because of where Miami is, the two countries that are playing in it.
And the star power.
Obviously Messi. PD, this place was a zoo. I mean, I don't know. I tuned into the game, sat on my brother's couch at 7:30 thinking the game's going to, I say puck drop, but I guess put the ball in the middle and kick it. I don't know what the right term is. Kick it backwards.
It's okay if you don't know what it's called because PD doesn't even know what Copa America is.
Like you boys introduced like Copa America as the number one topic. I'm like, who? Never heard of him.
Dude, so Petey, there was a situation at the gate that formed, okay?
Yep.
All the fans rushed the gate, wasn't enough security. They bum rushed the gate. So tickets weren't being checked. People were getting trampled, suffocated. Absolute just scenes getting into Hard Rock Stadium. Videos start leaking. People were hopping over fences. They were jumping. I mean, Hard Rock Stadium has these.
Hard Rock.
This is a Hard Rock, dude. There are these big ramps to get up. People were jumping off the sides. Someone came in through the air vents. I mean, Shoots wants to say something. Go ahead, Shoots.
I mean, there was like people who bought tickets who were not even allowed into the game. There was this guy that they interviewed, paid $15,000 for tickets. They didn't
Man,
let
you
him
got a
in.
great
Didn't
podcast,
get
boys.
in.
Dude.
Shoots,
It
Wow.
really does.
Shoots is soothing, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, he is.
We
He
might have
wanted
to do
that.
an ASMR episode of
wanted
just
that.
Marco shoots.
Yeah.
Well, Shoots' point. People that had tickets didn't get in. The situation that happened was people got into the stadium without tickets. Basically, went to any seat they wanted to.
It was
Yeah.
a couple times when I worked there, they had ticketing issues, but nothing like that. Like the barcodes wouldn't scan. The minor issues like that, they'd let a few people in for free. But at that point, you get to your seat, and if there's issues, they can check you. But it's a much different situation when you have thousands of people rushing in. From my vantage point, my opinion, a lot of this looked premeditated because there was people bringing in dead ass ladders to sneak into
there
the
were
stadium.
dogs in the stadium.
Yeah,
dude.
a guy sneaking into the stadium. He brought a Shih Tzu. Like, what are you doing, bro? It's like he's getting arrested, and the Shih Tzu's like barking at the cops.
Javi, what did you say before these guys are coming through the vents, dude?
Petey, there's a video that I kid you not. It was like a human chain. Imagine people getting lifted up, coming in through the air vents of the stadium.
Like Mission Impossible level.
Come on.
Activities to sneak into the Copa America
game had
final.
to be delayed. At first it was 15 minutes. It ended up being close to 90-minute delay because it's a huge security issue. Imagine after what we had on the weekend, former president assassination attempt, and then we have this security breach at the biggest soccer match on American soil in God knows how long. So all that to say, crazy day in South Florida. The highlight of the game, and I know we're not a big soccer podcast, but Shakira did a timeless performance.
Dude, Toad's shit. When you do that shit, like the boomer one, like you just come out with these random outbursts, but they're actually unbelievable.
Yeah, Shoots wants to say something.
Speaking of security, I mean the people who got arrested, it was crazy.
We moved on to Shakira.
Unbelievable.
No,
Shoots is dialed in on that comment. Shoots.
No, but like, did you see
God.
the Colombian Soccer Federation?
That is true. He's at Turner Gulliford.
He got arrested.
And he got arrested. The president of the Colombian Soccer Federation got arrested.
And his son.
Like,
Shoots. That's a Shoots fact.
Like,
wow. Hashtag Shoots facts.
Did he probably go through like a different entrance and something? And like, I mean, if he's...
Listen, man, I think the one thing we learned this weekend, sports in the USA are big. Sports in South America,
bigger.
The biggest.
Crazier. The biggest.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's borderline obsession. It's like SEC
it's life and
football.
death,
The closest equivalent we have in the US is SEC football.
It's
SEC
like rugby.
football
It's
and
like
South
rugby for
American
Taylor
soccer.
Scott.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people lighting flares in like crowds in like South America and like Saudi Arabia. I mean, they like light fireworks in the crowd.
Bro,
Man,
Shoots.
I'm
Bro,
totally
Shoots
shook.
got a hot
I'm
mic,
shook that
dude.
I'm shook that he's contributing in a positive way.
dude, we talk about Paul Skeens having a meteoric rise. Shoots.
Yeah.
Dude.
2 weeks ago, Shoots cut across our camera.
Yes. Gotta go to the bathroom. right? You gotta go to the bathroom.
Borderline ruined an episode. I mean,
Yeah.
Toad was ready to flip his monitor over.
Yep.
And now he's got a seat at a desk with a hot mic sitting on the computer. He's got his hat back. Never been more comfortable.
We call that growth. This is evolution.
Yeah. Talk about jobs in the mafia. Mafia is just
Promoting
Getting
jobs.
back.
Toad.
promoting job growth.
Yes.
Giving back to the community.
Okay. All right.
Let's move on.
So, last night, Home Run Derby, the Summer Classic, the first half of the Summer Classic All-Star Game is going on as we're recording here. I want to ask Petey and Javi, both pitchers, what's the longest home run you've ever given up? Where was it? And can you recall who hit it?
Yeah, Javi, I'll go first just because like this is kind of like a fresh topic for me coming off the Home Run Derby, and I love telling this story. Chris Bryant, Daytona Cubs. Dude, I think so. It was like he had been there for like a week or two. Right up, like what did he go? He didn't go one, did he that year?
I think he went 2 or 3.
He went 2. Okay.
Yeah.
So he goes right to Daytona High A. We're in Brevard County. Javi, you might have even. What year was that? Probably 2014, maybe.
No, I wasn't there with Bryant. I was there in
All right,
15. Yeah.
Okay. So I remember going fastball away, looking strike one, change up, dude. This guy almost corkscrewed himself. I mean, I'm feeling good. I'm up 0-2. Like I got the world by the balls, Toad, as I like to say. You know what I mean? 0-2 can literally throw anything here. I'm like, hey, let me throw an absolute 12-6 bender, even though I don't throw a 12-6 bender, but like let me exaggerate the shit out of this and really try to get him here. Dude, I threw this breaking ball, right? I think I watched the revolutions on this thing get to home plate, dude. Javi, it was like a front foot, but he had like plenty of time to even get back to his back foot, and then like wham bam, thank you, ma'am, dude. He hit this thing. So in Daytona, the scoreboard, it's not a big stadium, but the scoreboard is up in left field. So like TJ Middlestat, I think it was, playing left field, and I'll never forget because like when he hit it, Javi, it was so high, but it didn't look like he necessarily like he got it. So like I see Middlestat on like kind of like a full sprint going back, running towards the wall, right? And then all of a sudden, like a little bit slower, then I see him touch the fence. Javi, he touched the fence, and another 3 or 4 seconds, this thing was still going up over the scoreboard there, like just absolutely.
I'm questioning the outfielder's depth perception. What's going on?
No, but you appreciate that as a pitcher, right? Like, give me a courtesy jog.
100%.
Like, okay, off the bat, everybody knows that ball is 450 plus. But dude, make me feel,
give me 3 hard steps, dude. Give me something and then watch it or like look. So there's nothing worse, and like I feel like you don't see it much anymore because it's such a slap in the face. But like, dude, if these dudes ever give you the no look or just like the dead stare ahead, dude, when that thing's going 475 over their head, there's really no worse feeling than that. Like, so yes, thank God he gave me a good 2-3 hard steps, quick look, but like I swear it might still be going.
Unreal.
What do you got?
So, dude, my furthest ball in the minors, man. I had just gotten drafted. I was in 2014. I got my first assignments in Helena. I get sent up to Wisconsin, and going from Helena to Wisconsin is like, dude, you made it, bro, because there are in the summertime, Appleton, Wisconsin might as well be heaven on earth. Like that place is packed every night. Best. Everyone's drinking brats. Miller lights are flowing. That place is electric.
The Leinenkugels, bro. The summer shandies.
The summer shandies, bro. Shout out to the summer shandies. I had way too many summer shandies that summer, dude. I have not had one since 2014. I've had a summer shandy. But you got to go play. There's some other teams in that league that, dude, there were some dumps in the Midwest League, man. I'm talking about Beloit, Wisconsin, the Beloit Snappers at that time. That place, I mean, this place, the bugs would fly at the lights, and as the sun went down, the bugs would come. I mean, you were pitching like with a locust, bro. It felt like something out of the Bible. Yeah, but anyways, end of the year, I got a good ERA. I still remember like to a T. I had a 2.8 ERA. Last start of the year, the A's bring down a big leaguer, Nate Fryman. I actually got to talk to him about this because he went to Duke. He did his MBA at Duke. His MBA at Duke. I talked to him about this moment. He was the big leaguer who was just getting at bats because the A's were going to the playoffs. He was coming off of an injury.
Imagine going to Beloit out of the show, dude.
From the show to Beloit. Yeah. Imagine that. Dude, first at bat, hits a 2 RBI double. So now he's 1 for 1. Second at bat, single, 3 RBI. So now he's 2 for 2 with 3 RBIs. I've given him 3 runs on the night, all to Nate Fryman. I'm in the 6th inning, just trying to get through my start. Nate Fryman comes up. Elvin Nina's the pitching coach at the time. He kind of gives me a nod. This is my last guy. Okay, great. Dude, I throw Nate Fryman a heater down the middle. There's a runner on second base. I kid you not, Petey. This guy, he hit the ball. And I was just talking about outfielders giving you the courtesy jog. Omar Garcia was in center field. The gentleman didn't even flinch. I looked back and he's looking directly at me. And that's when I was like, please turn around. Please turn around. Please jog. No show jog, nothing. That ball went so far over the hitter's eye in center. My parents were in town that weekend. So I went 6 innings, gave up 5 earned runs, all 5 at the hands of Nate Fryman. Funny story, I go to Duke to get my MBA. Nate Fryman had just graduated. I ended up meeting him we ended up chatting. I tell him, like, Nate, he goes, oh, I remember that night. I went 3 for 3 with a bomb. I was like, yeah, dude, that was all off of me. You single-handedly ruined my ERA that year in Wisconsin.
In front of your family.
And my dad was like, why'd you pitch to him? I'm like, dude, what am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to do? You're in the minor leagues where everyone's trying to get their reps in, bro. I mean, it's not like we're playing Game 7 of the World Series.
Yeah.
Hey, did you hit Omar with the, hey, man, could you give me a little courtesy jog? And he hit you with that no chance, Papa.
No chance, Papa. Dude, I'm telling you, there's no worse feeling as a pitcher. There's a couple bad things you can do. Number 1, never point. Because you see so many videos of guys pointing
Edwin Diaz.
Edwin Diaz. Point, 10 rows
Yeah,
out. So
that's
you
the
never
worst,
point.
dude.
But when you look back and the outfielder has not budged, not moving a muscle, dude,
Ain't right.
your heart sinks. And you're like, oh man, dude, umpire, give me the ball, bro. Let's move this
Yeah.
along. Come on.
Yeah.
Look, speaking of bad nights, though, I don't think many people had it worse yesterday than the anthem singer.
Oof. Off the hot seat, Fergie. Fergie's so happy. She's not the worst.
She's cleared.
Cleared.
She's cleared. But in our defense, we received a statement this morning that she was on a bender, maybe.
I mean, good for her. I mean, like, I guess, like, at some point when you do something like that, I mean, you got to come out and say something. You know what I mean? I mean, that's.
Singing the anthem a cappella is tough.
I thought we were getting trolled. I thought it was a bit.
Right.
I thought the mics were off in the stadium or something. I thought there was a problem.
My favorite.
Hey, did she sing a good song? Like, is she in a good song? I'm trying to think. Like,
she's
what is she doing?
been nominated 3 times for a Grammy.
Really?
Yeah.
But and look, she came out and said she was drunk, and she
definitely wasn't drunk. Definitely. she just needs like
shoots.
Okay. Go to rehab.
Let's give her some grace. She's enrolling in rehab. To me, the funniest part was that they started playing Edwin Diaz's walkout song as soon as her rendition ended and the trumpets came in. I'm like, what are we like? What the heck? Like someone hit that button so quickly.
I don't think anybody knew what was happening.
No.
Just move on to the next part, whatever it is. Press the next button.
Look, we couldn't record this episode without even mentioning it, but wow, just.
Did you see the players' faces?
Were they laughing?
Try not to laugh.
It was like a Draymond.
Yeah,
meme.
like everyone just kind of like.
Just not a great night for her. I feel bad. She's seeking help, but we had to.
Low point for Anthem, high point Teoscar Hernandez winning the home run derby. Teoscar versus Bobby Witt. Toad's guy, Bobby Witt, to the final. Almost had it.
Did you take Bobby Witt in our predictions? Okay.
Yes. And Teoscar, I think the first Dodger to ever win it, surprisingly.
Yeah, very surprisingly.
Dude, those guys were hitting bombs in that first round.
Dude, like it looks so effortless. And
it really does.
You start to realize like how much power these guys have, dude. Like, I mean, and look, some of the BP throwers, like the guy throwing to Pete Alonso, it was like one of those things that little kids, like the ball was coming in at such an I mean, granted, that's how they like it, but dude, these guys were effortless, man.
Somebody's guy was throwing smoke, dude.
It's the type of performances that make people think, oh man, I can do that.
Yeah.
They make it look so easy. I got a text.
No chance.
I got a text from our boy, Victor Padilla.
Shout out Victor Padilla, loyal listener.
during the derby, and I think he was testing me. He's like, Toad, you think you could hit one out with a wooden bat? I'm like, in what stadium? He's like, in this one. We're at the home run derby. I quickly said, absolutely not. And he goes, okay, good. Me neither.
It's not. And I think the hardest part is these guys are, I mean, you don't realize how tiring it is to swing consecutively like that.
Right.
Like,
it's a marathon.
It's a marathon. And I don't know if I don't necessarily love the format. The format is what it is. I heard Manfred talk about it today that everybody seems to love the format.
I thought it was better, dude.
It was better. I don't personally love it. The split screen throws me off, dude. You got to see
there's
where the
too
ball's
much.
going.
There's like too much going on. I'm overstimulated. It's like, just give me a couple camera angles. And it looked like there was like 15 cameras around home plate. Those, I guess the 3D capture stuff.
Didn't ESPN2 have like the StatCast one too? Like where they were kind of like they would chuck in the analytics.
Next year, let's have a Stephen A.
Nerds working
home
hard.
Run Derby broadcast.
The nerds had to get that shit on the computer fast.
You watch the home run derby?
I mean,
that's a no.
Bro, he's still thinking about Copa America, bro.
He was busy doing research into who exactly got arrested in the
or how that guy got in.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So a trending topic, unfortunately, this season for some younger players, there have been some outbursts in dugouts that have led to fairly significant injuries. Dane Myers, a Marlins outfielder, struck out. He kicked the door, broke his foot. Colton Brewer earlier this year had a rough outing, punched the wall, broke his hand. As pitchers or players, when is that tipping point where you just go F it and go like full Big Papi? This is our fucking city.
Yeah, it's our fucking city.
And smash a phone in the dugout. When is a pitcher? When do you hit that boiling point when you do flip the Gatorade cooler?
I mean, Toad, like hit it. Like I feel like the Big Papi thing to the phone or the bat to the cooler is a lot better than the punches to the fucking locker or the wall. Like to me, like if you're gonna go, dude, and it's very easy to do it. Toad. Like it's like the emotions, especially like right at either coming out of a game or getting yanked in an inning with runners on, and like if those runs get cashed in, like Tyler Sperlin used to do to me. Tyler Sperlin, loyal listener, absolutely just cashing my runs all the time. He was Cy Young after my runs went in the game, but. So shout out Sperlin. Thank you very much for the ERA every
That's
year.
2 episodes in a row for a Sperlin shout out.
Yeah. But I just feel like the raw emotion right away, right? You're probably ready to do anything, but I saw it with the high school kid the other day. I had a lesson with the kid, and he comes in. He's like, I haven't been able to throw in a month. I said, what's wrong? He's like, I got back to the dugout after the game. Even a half hour, an hour later, he said, I punched the back wall. Pinky hasn't been the same since. I just feel like it's one of those things where it's like, you're thinking right away, like, I got to do damage. I got to do something. And unfortunately, like the punches to the locker, the punches to the walls, they never work out. The wall always wins. But hey, the Louisville Slugger to the coolers in the phones always like you might be paying a fine to it. Was it Chris Sale a couple of years ago? Remember he was ripping the TVs off the walls?
No, did he cut jerseys too? Chris Sale's had some good outbursts, bro.
He's good, dude. Like, that ain't gonna get you hurt. That's gonna get you fined, but it ain't gonna get you hurt. Like I think it was in AAA with the Red Sox. He was doing that shit, doing the ripping the jersey thing in Chicago. AAA with the Red Sox, I think he was ripping the televisions down off the wall in the thing. Like that, but again, like that shit, you're gonna have to pay for that shit at the end of the day. But there's no visits to the ER. So
the next time Shoots has an outburst, I'm ripping down the TV that's in here in the studio.
I will say the 2 injuries, a guy like Dane Myers, it sucks for him because he's had a long journey to get to the big leagues.
Yeah, and he's a borderline pro,
right?
He's up and down a lot,
and you feel like he's finally getting his opportunity to get some regular at bats, right? And the self-inflicted stuff is the one where like you got to know he's feeling awful, dude. You got to imagine as soon as he felt, and he said it, he goes, he didn't anticipate the door being whatever, and he kicked it. And
bottom line is you kicked the door and you broke your foot and you're costing yourself.
Petey, we saw some good outbursts. I mean, I was never the outburst type in the sense of like hitting stuff. I was a yeller.
I was a yeller too.
I ran a little hot. So Brevard was the perfect place to yell because you'd walk into that. It was a long corridor and you could just walk in there and you could yell and no one would hear you.
Yeah.
But to your point, Wall ain't losing a fight, dude. Locker ain't losing a fight. So you see some of these guys with these injuries. It's tough, man. It's tough to see.
Undefeated. Those things are undefeated, Javi.
Undefeated. PD, last thing we're going to, I guess talk about here today. We're at All-Star Weekend. I'm going to put both you guys on the spot right now.
Wow. Do we even know about this?
This is off outline.
Okay.
Off outline. Okay. Final topic of the day.
Okay.
Yeah. Hit us.
On July 16th, pick your World Series winner right now.
Wow.
Toad goes first.
My World Series winner, Baltimore Orioles.
Wow.
Holy
That's a good one.
Shit.
That's a really good one.
I think they're going to add pitching at the deadline.
Okay.
I think they're going to be willing to give up some of their talent that's kind of stuck in the minors. They're blonde hair, blue-eyed guys that they seem to re-up every draft. Which they did again this weekend. I think Baltimore's just they're the deepest team in the NL East, the AL East, and arguably the entire American League. Pitching is probably their weakest point, and their bullpen. I think they got to replace Kimbrel, maybe move him down to the 7th or 8th inning, and find a closer. May I nominate Tanner Scott for them?
Wow.
Send Tanner Scott from the Marlins to Baltimore for some prospects, some outfield depth for the Marlins, a shortstop, anything really,
please.
At this point.
If you're listening,
that's my pick. I
like that pick too.
Baltimore.
I like that pick. Petey, who you got?
I got the Phillies, boys. I just think I love a lot of those guys. I think that Trey Turner coming back is going to be a huge bump. Boom, you don't think this is like Bones is going to ride his coattails a little bit here? I mean, he's a name now. He put on a show in the Derby. You get your Bryce Harpers of the world. You get your Zach Wheelers on the mound, dude. I love the Phillies. I think at some point it's going to happen for them, and this is the year.
Shoots, who's your World Series pick?
Marlins.
Okay.
That's why we don't give Shoots.
Yeah.
I am going I'm gonna go with the Dodgers.
Wow.
I thought about that too, Bobby.
Real off the reservation pick. I will say though, Shoot, stop throwing your phone on the table. We have Shohei Ohtani, best player in baseball. We have not seen him in a postseason. Selfishly, I would love for Shohei to be in a postseason environment. I want to see what he can do over obviously a 5-game series and into a 7-game series. Dodgers are loaded with talent. Freeman, they got Mookie Betts, who's on the shelf right now, but will be coming back sooner rather than later.
They've been skidding of late too.
They've been skidding as of late.
Yeah.
A lot of guys hurt. We saw, remember, what did I say to you yesterday? Dustin May, what was that injury he had?
A fractured esophagus or something?
Esophagus.
Torn esophagus?
How do you get that?
I don't know what he's doing.
How do you know you got
that? Toad, I think I sent Toad. I was like, I don't want to know.
Yeah, it's like, pause. Like, I'm good. You got what?
Javi, imagine walking into TC's office and being like, hey, I think I got my fucking, I felt the pull in my esophagus last night. Like, how do you even know it? You'd be like, what were you doing? Yeah.
There's so many roads that this could go down that I think that this is the perfect middle innings segment because we're going to let your mind take you on different paths of whatever you think how you can tear an esophagus. But this was Middle Innings Volume 5. Again, Middle Innings is the type of banter that Pete and I would be talking about in the bullpen, the type of stuff that Toad and Shoots and I talk about in the car rides and at Flanagan's and at Sports Grill, just guys being dudes talking about random stuff. Again, follow us on all socials, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can like and subscribe, please do. Boys, that was a good episode.
And a great episode.
And we got a great interview coming up next with Legends of Dade, a nostalgia Florida Marlins themed Instagram account that has gone somewhat viral locally down here, and a really insightful interview. We'll leave it at that. We don't want to steal his thunder by any means. Just a really, really unexpected and fantastic conversation.
We got a very, very special guest joining us here. It's kind of one of our first white whales, I think, Toad. Our first Moby Dick.
We got the big one.
We got the big
one.
We got Giancarlo DeVito, the man behind Legends of Dade. And I don't want to get this wrong. It is at Legends of Dade on Instagram. A following that probably doesn't need any introduction. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you already follow his account. But this is the first time he's in front of the camera, sort of revealing himself. Right before we hopped on, he said this was his MLB The Show Unlock a Character. So, doesn't need any more introduction than that. But Giancarlo DeVito, the legend of Dade, thanks so much for joining us, man.
Appreciate it. Of course, honored to be on. Thank you.
Toad and I know you've interfaced and talked to Toad quite a bit, through the accounts and whatnot. You've grown this sort of friendship that's budding. Yeah. And I think one of the first things we noticed when we started this account was like, hey, all of our friends, I go onto your Instagram page. We have hundreds of followers in common because everybody's first favorite team, if you're from South Florida, is the Florida Marlins. Not the Miami Marlins, the Florida Marlins, the OG 97, 2003 World Series champs. You've grown this page now to I don't know how many followers. It's a lot more than we have. And you have, these unreal clips. You put out so much heat on it. Seems like a daily basis. Every time I open your account, it's, something that brings me back. It's goosebumps inducing kind of moments.
Legends of Dade on a consistent basis unlocks a core memory for me.
100%.
And my favorite thing that the account does for me is like, it is a dose of nostalgia straight into my veins. And I was telling someone today, I'm like, first of all, I was like super excited. I'm like, bro, we're interviewing Legends of Dade today. You're not going to believe this crap. And I was just going off about how when I watch one of your clips, I can remember exactly where I was, whether I was at the game or watching it on TV with my family. It's just a surreal account, and awesome, it's amazing stuff, man. And we're obviously big fans and honored you're willing to collab with the Mafia.
Yeah, no, and I think more than anything, man, it's gratitude from Toad and I, because not only for coming on here today, but gratitude for finding those clips and giving us those little moments of joy in what has been a very, very tough couple years as Marlins fans.
Of course,
Toad and I consider ourselves big time Marlins fans. It's been a tough road as of late, but we're here to talk about you. Tell us about your fandom. Where did it start? How did this page get to where it is right now?
So the fandom started early in the 2003 season, which is a good time to hop on the bandwagon. That's around the time I started watching baseball. My Cuban abuelo, a big Marlins fan, a lot of knowledge when it comes to the history of the game, and he was able to pass that on to me. And then my earliest memories of baseball is just sitting on the couch with him, and him having his radio on, listening to Felo Ramirez and Yiki Quintana on the call, usually with the TV on mute, which is something that I've learned as I've had interactions with people on the account and just the community, that, a lot of people had the similar experiences with, with their grandpa, their father, listening to Felo with the TV on mute, which is something that I thought was unique to me. But it's really cool to have people reach out and say, hey, I used to listen to it on mute with my grandpa or my dad. Man, this brings back memories. That's why I made the page, for nostalgia. I remember following the team throughout the season, from when they were underdogs, from when Conine came back to the Fish and had those that big series against Philadelphia. At school, the whole school having newspaper clippings up on the hallways and the walls, and kids wearing their Marlins gear to school, and just the whole run. It was magical, and something that I've had expectations for them to do every year after that, and unfortunately hasn't happened. So since then, I've been hoping to get that feeling and chase that feeling again that we haven't had, unfortunately. But that's where the fandom started. Was hooked. Went to as many games as I could. Would beg my parents or my grandpa to drive all the way to Miami Gardens to take me to the games. As far as the page, started during COVID. Like a lot of us, spare time, in our hands. And I remember it was around the time that Don Shula had actually passed away. And I was just tapping into my creative side. I was actually like on my phone, like making like a Don Shula collage or something like that I wanted to post or just create, not even to post, just for myself, and then that turned into, let's make a Marlins collage, which turned into me thinking back at Marlins history.
Right.
Which led to me going down the rabbit hole of YouTube, trying to find old Marlins clips, which I was taken back and surprised at the lack of. There was not a lot of Marlins content or Florida Marlins content.
And I think that begs the question, as someone who is like that. I think yesterday I was watching Dan Ugla highlights for God knows what reason on YouTube. Where do you source the clips? I'm not asking a magician to reveal his secrets by any means. You can divulge as much information as you want. But what is that process like? And what I think today, I forget what clip. I watched the Alfredo Meziga inside the park home run, or Bonifacio. I'm getting them confused now.
Bonifacio inside the park.
Yeah. So I randomly came across that one today. What inspires you, or how do you think back of a specific play and go, hey, time for Legends of Dade to go digging?
I mean, so I would say that 80% of the clips are already on YouTube, are available on YouTube, and then I've had the page, and I've kind of, like I said, I noticed that there was not as much clips or videos as when you start thinking back, oh, wow, the Marlins have had a lot of, good moments in history. And they just weren't available on YouTube or, wherever you would go to find this, MLB.com, and then you start sourcing. There's actually people that go ahead and upload VHS tapes, they have in their archives, and they'll upload like full games randomly, and these games on YouTube sometimes will have 100 views, 50 views, and what I'll do is if I see there's a full game, I'll go back and I'll go on Baseball Reference. I'll look up the box score. Wow. If there's anything in particular that would be, it would stand out, I'll go back to that inning and find the video. And that's I love that. Like, there's nothing better than finding a gem, like a diamond in the rough.
Giancarlo, you are the GeoGuessr of Marlins baseball.
Does this process for you? So you started this during COVID, and as it started evolving, obviously, you got this big following, and you have now former players. I mean, Todd and I always see guys commenting on your page. How has that been, from a creative standpoint? You're finding these clips that maybe some of these former players don't even realize still exist on the internet. Like, how much interaction do you have with some guys? Are they constantly reaching out to you? Are they asking you to find certain clips for them? How does that work?
That has happened. I've had former players reach out and say, hey, can you find me this specific game on this day, which I'll do my best to find. But most of the time it's not possible, just because, and it's lost in, I don't know where, but it's something that I feel strongly about. I feel like MLB should do a better job in general of putting out content. It's very limited. Now there's video and high quality video of games that I don't know who has. I don't know if they're locked up in some, dungeon. And, there's a guy just with a key and just holding it. I don't know for who, I don't know for what, but there's a lot of videos that are just lost, but There are times where I'm able to find videos for players, whether it's, you know, people uploading them on YouTube or me just digging, like I said, just finding and searching every way I can. And I've been able to find the video that a player has been searching for. I've had Robert Andino actually come to me and say, hey, I don't have video of my first career home run, which I was appalled just to hear that. A former MLB player doesn't have video of his first MLB home run. So I kind of made it my mission. Like, I'm going to find this home run, which I ended up finding. And was able to post that, and he was able to repost that for his family and stuff. And that's awesome, man. I can't ask for more.
That's an amazing story. And Robert Andino is one of my go-to immaculate grid guys. if I want to 0.001%, if it's Marlins, Orioles, or, you know, when you got to put like a random guy who played left field, Robert Andino.
The price Southridge, bro.
Yeah. My guy is always Edwin Jackson. That's my go-to guy.
Oh, he played half the league.
Yeah,
dude,
that's
if I'm stuck,
cheating, bro.
Yeah. I'll pull that one out of my back pocket every time.
Yeah. But speaking of former players, the number one guy who is constantly commenting on your posts more than Bullpen Mafia is Dontrell Willis. It is unbelievable how often the D-Train is liking, commenting on your posts, which, I mean, for a lot of kids in Miami, our age, our demo, he's a lot of kids' favorite players. And I'm sure the first couple times that the D-Train was commenting on your videos and even sharing them to his IG stories, there might have been a few emotions or like holy shit moments going on in your head. Right. What's that like when someone of that magnitude and a World Series champion World Series champion is sharing your content?
I mean, I definitely have had a good amount of those holy shit moments. And believe it or not, D-Train was one of the first followers of the page.
Wow.
So I'm talking D-Train was following me and liking my profile and my pictures when I had less than 100 followers, which was at the time even more of an oh shit moment. But that just goes to show, I think, of what type of guy he is. You know, he's a super humble guy, super cool dude, and you can tell how much he really cherishes his time here. You know, that's something that he expresses a lot to me. You know, like he's online and he's responding to comments all the time. You know, and you can see in my comments and the Legends of Dade comments.
Yeah.
Super cool dude, but for sure that was a moment where it's like, wow, like, you know, I would say he's my top 5 favorite Marlins of all time. You know, and one of the few Marlins that had a lot of recognition.
I'm getting chills for you hearing you tell this story, because that 2003 season is probably my favorite championship a South Florida team has ever won. And Javi and I were at Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and that 2003 season means tenfold to me than what these recent championships, what LeBron and the Heat did. It's the Marlins in baseball, I think, is a very unique sport in that it brings generations together. And you're like you sharing, watching 03 with your dad, with your grandfather. I did the same thing with my dad and my brother. We went to, I don't know how many games that season, and not just that season, but the passion I have for the Marlins was passed down to me from my dad. The passion I have for baseball, it's a family affair for me, and it's an incredibly personal experience for me. And I think, Giancarlo, it sounds like it's the same for you and obviously for Javi. And that's why we feel so passionate, and I think frustrated is really the word with the team at this moment, because we know what they're capable of. And to go back to what you said about your expectations, even though they haven't won a championship in 20 years, you expect that because we've tasted it and we've watched it, we've experienced it. And I think most fans should be on your page. Like, let's not cut the team any slack. We've been there. We've been to the mountaintop. We should be consistent winners.
100%. 100%. You know, you taste it, and like just like the players do, when they taste that championship, that's the ultimate motivator to, you know, want to get back. You know, and that's something that I really do feel strongly about the Marlins, at least. You know, we're not a team that, you know, I understand if you want to go ahead and change the colors, you want to change the uniform, you want to tear it all down and bring it back up, you know, that's fine. And you don't hesitate on doing that, you know, if you don't have a history, if you don't have not a lot of winning, right? But the teal, you know, represents something to me, and that we've won 2 championships with teal. So that's something that I can't wrap my head around how they would move on from that. And it almost is like they don't want to build a tradition, and tradition is a big part of baseball. And that's what makes the Cubs the Cubs. That's what makes the Yankees the Yankees. That's what makes the Red Sox the Red Sox. It was generations passed on, so that's something that's frustrating.
So I take it you're not a big fan of the newish logo after the new Miami Marlins logo that was orange. So we've had like 3 iterations since that teal. So I take it you're not a fan of any of those, right?
I mean, look, both ways. I mean, look, it's an upgrade from what it was previously.
Yeah,
to the one we have now
100%.
for sure. Everybody can agree on that, but it's almost like you passed up a once in a lifetime opportunity to change it back.
Insane.
And you dropped the ball on that. Not a lot of teams get that opportunity where this team was sold and you had almost an opportunity to make it right, and you kind of just fumbled that.
It's unbelievable.
When I saw the early renderings. I don't know if you guys remember that. There was some early renderings of like the newest logo.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a joke. I was like, nah, they're not. There's no way they're not going back to the.
What's a bigger joke? Sorry, go ahead.
Like this, to me, I saw this. This is the first thing I thought of. I said, "There's no way they're gonna not." I'm talking back in 2012.
It's just crazy. What you have on your head would have been the lowest hanging fruit ever of the most epic and amazing logo reveal in South Florida sports history. If what you have on your head is what the new ownership group and Jeter rebranded to, like,
who knows what would happen?
Exactly, man. And it's wild.
So Giancarlo, you mentioned at the outset your love for watching the games with your grandpa, fellow Ramirez. Like obviously that's like an if you know kind of thing.
Right.
What are some of your favorite like pro player stadium moments? I know Toto and I have been to that stadium a million times. It's weird to see now. We see Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday night hosting Copa America. It's like, bro, I don't remember that version of pro player stadium.
And nobody was entering Marlins games through AC vents or using ladders.
Maybe in 03, bro. In 03 with those 65,000 fans, but yeah. So some of your favorite memories of pro player.
There's a bunch. From 03, I remember, I think, was it Game 5? That was a home game in the NLDS against the Cubs. NLCS, right?
NLCS, yeah.
It was a home game that we lost. I believe it was Game 5. One of those games we lost at home. I remember just a Cubs fan, just relentless all game. Just, let's go, Cubbies, let's go. And he just did not stop. And I had never experienced anything like that. He was more intense. And I remember him looking around and saying, oh, these ain't real fans, like, look at everybody here quiet. And I stood up as like a 9 or 10-year-old and was like, let's go Marlins, like in space. Like I stood up for everybody in the section. I remember going to a game against the Giants during that series when we also lost one of those home games. Watching Barry Bonds. I remember the player intros from 03. The JP walk-up song, like the graphics on the Jumbotron with like the palm trees and kind of like it was like a storm in the back with like a palm tree. It was for 2003, they were ahead of their time with that one.
Yeah. Man, I'm glad you brought up the intro songs because Mike Lowles and Juan Pierce have stuck with me for the rest of my life.
100%.
DMX and We Ready by Archie Eversole.
Yes.
I'm gonna pose an idea, a project for Legends of Dade. As the geoguesser of South Florida, can you put together a Spotify playlist with the 2003 team's walk-up songs?
Man, that's a challenge that I would love to take on. I'll tell you that. I could think about 5. I know Miggy had Tego Calderon.
Yeah.
Wow, bro.
Which is pretty cool. I remember that. And I'm 10 years old, dude, at this time, and I remember that. And I remember just those sticky Sunday games, where like your legs were sticking to the seats.
You're begging for a frozen lemonade, bro.
I remember my sister like tapping out completely and saying like after the 3rd inning, like, let's go home right now. I remember those 2008. 2007 to 2009 games where it's a Tuesday game. My dad at the time had a contact that would just basically give away like suite level tickets to the Marlins games, which I think he 100% regrets telling me about. I would make him drag me to like 2008, like drag him to the Marlins game on a random Tuesday night. Like he's falling asleep in his chair, and I'm here like, watching the game and like zoned in.
Those 07 to 09 teams are my favorite outside of 2003.
I love those teams. Something about them, like a lot of offense, I think is, but
don't sleep on Josh Johnson.
Josh Johnson, man, Dan Ugla, like just those scrappy teams where they were never out of it. Definitely one of my favorite Marlins teams.
Giancarlo, we're going to fast forward now to current state of the fish. I know that, Toad and I have talked at length on our pod about, what's going on. If you could put on your owner GM hat for a second here, I guess, first of all, how closely are you following the team day to day now? And second of all, how do you improve the team from where it's at, current positioning in the standings, and how do you get more fans in the seats?
I follow the team quite a bit. I'm usually a little bit more locked in early in the season where your hopes are high, you're optimistic. Yeah, everybody's in first place, everybody has a chance, and then when the team starts kind of falling off, I tend to kind of back off a little bit. I watch the game as much as I can. I'm trying to get my son to be a Marlins fan. So, I mean, to him, like the Marlins are the best team in the world.
Wow.
He wouldn't know their record or anything like that. I take him to as many games as I can. I like to go on a Sunday with him and just have a nice, day off.
Wow.
But the state of the Marlins right now, it's frustrating. And I'm not going to lie, I have had times where I've been like, it's enough. I'm going to boycott. I'm not going to the games. I'm not giving this team any more of my money. But you'll see me there again the next Sunday. As soon as there's a bobblehead night, I'm there.
SpongeBob night, bro. You're going to be there.
I'm going to be there. SpongeBob night.
Me too, man. I need it just for the content, bro. It's the most absurd thing I've ever seen, and I desperately need one. Giancarlo, maybe let's make a plan. That could be Legends of Dade, Bullpen Mafia, IRL. We'll link up. We'll get the seats together.
Let's do it, man.
We'll rock.
I got the tickets. I got my tickets. I'm out.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Told you better get yours, buddy.
You text me after this. You text me what section, and I'm gonna buy them tonight.
Oh man.
Yeah, man.
So you're still plugged in, and I think what Toad and I have struggled with is like I have Xfinity, man. So like for me, it's like the Marlins are off my radar basically completely. Not because I willingly. I played baseball, played at the minor league level. I love watching, and I still do watch a whole lot of games. But just for me, it's become increasingly difficult to just find the Marlins. And I think one thing that they've sort of shied away from or haven't necessarily done a great job is keeping engaged the fans that are lifelong fans, like myself, like Toad, like yourself, where, hey, let's keep the team competitive. And they went through this period after 2003 where the team was still fun. They were competitive. They didn't make the playoffs those years, but like those Dan Ugla, Cantu, Mike Jacobs teams, those teams were a lot of fun to watch, man. They brought a lot of energy. They brought South Florida together. They won maybe 80-something games, but it felt like you were in the thick of the playoffs every year, and we weren't. But now it's gotten to a point where it's like, where are we in the standings? Every time you look, it's like, holy cow, it's further and further and further back, and it's just more difficult to sort of wrap your head around, like, how have we fallen this far behind? Right.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I understand from that there's things we can't control. We can't control the payroll side of it. We can't control fans getting to the stadium. Attendance is a big part of it, right? And the bottom line is, right, as you guys, I've watched you guys podcast with Glenn Geffner, and he kind of went into about, the bottom line is this ownership group hasn't made their investment back, and it doesn't look like they're going to be spending money anytime soon, which I know they're leaning into and kind of taking their approach, of that kind of that money balls, analytics approach. We can't control these things, right? But you can't overlook how important it is, just even let's say 3 years that the team is not competitive. Like you're losing generations of fans that could have become fans during that, even those 2-3 years. You're almost missing a window, and you can't look past that. That has value, and that has long-term effects as well. So it's tough, but as far as what they can control, they can control acknowledging their history, and that's something that I think we can all agree that they've missed on. Why are the Miami Marlins the only team out of 30 teams that do not have any jersey numbers retired? That's something that I've been big on. To those that know me, I bring up all the time. There's no excuse for that. I don't know if that's something that they have in the works, but I can name you at least I can name you a handful right off the top of my head that should 100% have their jerseys retired. And there's also players that have gotten their jerseys retired for other teams that have done less for the most part than some of those players that I'll mention.
Give us your 5, Giancarlo.
Number 1 is Luis Castillo, and that's an underrated. I would say one of the most underrated Marlins of all time. He played with us. He actually started with the Marlins, I think, '96 was his rookie year, where he played. I think second half of the season he got called up along with Renteria, and off the bat he was getting a lot of playing time. He was on the '97 roster, wasn't on the World Series roster, but I believe he leads the franchise in hits, stolen bases. A lot of big statistics. He's won Gold Gloves, All-Stars, you name it, World Series championships. There's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't look at him and his stats and say, how is this guy not retired jersey with the Marlins? It doesn't make sense to me. That's just one. I could go down the list.
That's a perfect segue into what our next, what we really wanted to get to with you. We're gonna do an all-time favorite Marlins snake draft. Giancarlo, I know Toad and I have spent some time trying to figure out how to get this list down to 3 because it was really tough.
I wanted to bring the smoke today because I knew what we were going to be up against in Giancarlo. So my list, I got some deep cuts for my favorite players. I think to lay some ground rules, let's do Florida Marlins only. So someone like Giancarlo Stanton counts because he played for both, but like Jose Fernandez, only Miami Marlins, so he's out of the question. You had to wear the teal to be included in our draft. Fair? Is it
fair?
Let's do it.
Snake draft, Giancarlo, you lead us off. All-time number 1 pick in the Florida Marlin all-time favorite draft.
Your favorite player?
You got. my favorite player, I would have to go Louis. That's just a guy that he was scrappy, man, and a lot of people don't know this. But he played injured, he played on one leg for the second half of his career, and he was still out there stealing bases, man, getting on base, and I think he was a catalyst of that of a lot of those teams, and a lot of their success depended on him being the catalyst. So I would have to go Louis with the first pick.
That hit streak was all-time core memory for me.
The hit streak, yeah.
The hit streak was incredible.
Unfortunately, my father and I were at the game that it ended, and I remember I hope my memory serves me right, but it was an extra innings game, and he was on deck. And I think Lenny Harris. You're gonna have to fact check me, bro.
Do not go against Legend of Dade. You're gonna get fact checked hard.
Let me see if I'm
checked
right.
into the boards.
Let me see if I'm right.
I got it.
Damn it. I think. Let me finish. I think Lenny Harris had a walk-off hit with Luis Castillo on deck. Is that right?
If I believe, I'm 80% sure that it was Tim Raines actually. Right?
I think I'm getting my pinch hitters confused.
I'm not sure. It was a pinch hitter that had a walk-off sac fly, I believe.
Well, we're gonna look it up. When we cut this up, we're gonna put the box score from that game.
I'm almost sure it was a walk-off, and Louis was he was left on an on-deck circle. And then I think he got an ovation after that or something.
I remember that. My shout out to my dad. No matter what, we were at these insane games.
Toad, first pick.
My first pick, no brainer here. Mr. Marlin himself, Jeff Conine. I wrote down a lot of notes for this, so bear with me here. Jeff Conine is probably the Marlin who somehow, despite having the nickname Mr. Marlin, is underappreciated and underrated. He was on both World Series teams. He won an All-Star Game MVP in 1995 at the ballpark in Arlington. He was a trade acquisition in 2003 that Giancarlo already brought up that helped carry us to the World Series. He is part of the most significant defensive play in Marlins history with the throw to Pudge at home plate to throw out Jeff Kent, I believe, or JT Snow. JT Snow. I was also at that game. Shout out to my dad again. Nice. And I genuinely feel like this. If the Marlins should absolutely take Giancarlo's advice of honoring our history, start with a Jeff Conine statue. I think without a doubt he is deserving of one. Put it outside Marlins Park the same way Hard Rock Stadium has Dan Marino. We need a Jeff Conine, Mr. Marlin statue.
You heard it here first. Boom. Jeff
100%.
Conine, Mr. Marlin.
Yes, sir.
My first pick,
Future guest of the podcast.
future guest of the pod, Mr. Marlin.
I like the way you think, brother.
My first pick is a pick not only for I have a personal relationship with this guy, but he was my favorite Marlin growing up, Alex Fernandez. I feel like that gave the 97 team so much legitimacy, having a frontline ace in Alex Fernandez. Obviously, the Marlins added a bunch of pieces, Kevin Brown, Al Leiter. That rotation was super stout at the top. Alex didn't get to play in that World Series, right? He had, that really tough shoulder injury, ended up being a torn rotator cuff, kind of derailed his career. I had the, privilege of playing with his son at University of Miami, got to know Alex really well. Obviously was a childhood hero of mine. The Don, as they call him, Don Fedna. Obviously the Marlins don't make that World Series run without him. I think, up there with Jeff Conine gave the Marlins a ton of legitimacy in that 97 run.
Nice.
And I think I'm at the back of the snake, so I go again,
Yeah,
right?
you're doubling up.
You forgot to mention the 32 on the hat for that.
The 32 on the hat,
that was
right?
pretty cool.
I
Tough.
made my mom put the 32 on our hats, and random hats, anything we wore, we put 32 on because those guys are wearing it. This one's gonna be this is a 97 world. This is the little kid in me because this has carried on throughout my life. And I think he's the coolest Marlin ever, Gary Sheffield.
Ooh,
just
like
because Gary Sheffield, I felt like every time he went in the box, you expected him to hit the ball hard somewhere. He was so cool. He always had a big tobacco in. My dad never told me what it was until I got older and I realized, that's what he was doing all those years. Bro. It was all bubblegum. But Gary Sheffield, by far, one of the most iconic and coolest looking Marlins in the batter's box.
No one's batting stance has been mimicked more in baseball history.
Gary Sheffield, my number 2.
I like that pick. Okay.
Toad.
It swings back to me. Man, this is tough. I'm going to go with another. I'm going to follow the trend of the theme of the episode, Legends of Dade. This is a true legend of Dade, Mikey Lowell.
Wow.
The hot corner, hidden ball trick, clutch hits in 2003. Another guy I would easily put in a Ring of Honor situation, retired number. I have a lot of respect for Mike Lowell, not only like how he made it to the majors and what he dealt with in high school, what he dealt with at the college level, what he had to do to make it in the bigs. But in 2003, when they called him Miguel Cabrera, Jack McKeon had to have what I assume were tough conversations with Lowell, like, hey, you're going to have to take a backseat a little bit because he was fighting an injury. A lot of people I don't think remember this. Mike Lowell was fighting injuries in 2003. Miguel Cabrera stepped in to play a lot for him. And even in the playoffs, Mike Lowell said, fine, whatever it takes to win. And he still came up with super clutch hits in the run. And after that, ended up being a World Series MVP with the Boston Red Sox. So
incredible.
Not only is he a Marlins legend to me, his professional baseball story is one of the best, period.
Bar none.
Yep.
Mic drop.
Yep. And one of the things that makes that 03 team so cool was that, these guys we were mentioning, Lowell, Alex Gonzalez, Luis Castillo, Derek Lee. These are guys that came up, in the organization. They had that core for a good amount of years, and to see it through, and see them be the core of that championship was cool, man.
Giancarlo, you're up.
Two picks now.
You stole my pick, Toad, but I'm gonna go with Miggy.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Miggy, man. Just getting called up 03, perfect time, perfect place.
And the walk-off home run when they called him up.
Yeah, man, that's unforgettable. The pie in the face for that walk-off. I'm never gonna forget that. I remember them like kind of just finding a way to, like you said, like they're finding a way to get him on the field. They put him in left field, right field, third base. I think he came up as a shortstop actually. But that's the obvious pick for me, man. GOAT legend. Still underrated. I know he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I feel like he's still underrated, even with that being said.
And every guy we've named so far, Ring of Honor situation.
100%.
And just so I can include the clip as an excuse, the Oppo home run off Roger Clemens in the World Series.
Epic. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Giancarlo, who's your last pick?
Man, I'm going to have to go Ugla, man.
Oh, my God.
You just stole Toad's pick.
I'm going to have to go Ugla, man. Just like the story, the Rule 5 guy.
Yeah.
I remember, like, 06 was the first team that we really shifted. That's a misconception. A lot of people, we blew up the team after 03. I mean, yeah, we lost D-Lee and Pudge, but we had most of that core back until 05, and 06 was when we really saw the shift and the new faces. We saw Hanley come in, a bunch of guys that ended up being fan favorites, but Ugla was like the unknown. Nobody knew who he was.
And
I love that story.
Bombs, bro.
Bombs, man. That guy hit tanks. I like the story with Rich Waltz where he kind of was like, he goes into where nobody knew his name. They used to call him Dan Ugla. Then and
should we do it once? Should we do a tribute to Rich Waltz? And you, Giancarlo, you lead the way, and we'll finish up. Javi, you know where this is going.
Where we're going.
I would always picture like Rich and Tommy, like behind the camera, like Rich, like giving one of these, and like them being in sync, like.
I'm waiting for you.
And his name is
Dan Ugla.
There you go. That's another one. Like if you know, you know.
Yeah,
things,
a lot of summer nights watching the Marlins,
100%,
trying to figure out if they were going to win and seeing Dan Ugla drop balls.
That's a great pick. I love that you have a soft spot for second baseman. That's so incredibly amazing. And we got some deep cuts in here. And after we finish, I want to go over some stragglers and some what do you call it?
Honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions.
Yeah. Okay. My next one, this is going to be very, very random. My third pick, again, an influence from my father because my dad loved him just because he was an amazing character and had two of the best nicknames in all of baseball at the time and maybe to this day. Antonio Alfonseca.
Very good one.
My favorite Marlins pitcher of all time, El Pulpo, famously with the 6 fingers, a.k.a. the Dragon Slayer. Yeah, right here. I think the first elite Marlins closer, and I know there was a run there that the Marlins had great closers: Alfonseca, Armando Benitez, Huguet Urbina,
Todd Jones, Borowski.
Yeah, Todd Jones. Joe Borowski.
Didn't Kevin Brown close for a little bit too?
I don't think so.
Not sure.
Or Al Leiter? I don't know. I'm gonna fact check myself there. But regardless, amazing nickname. Hilarious character on the mound. I think he really embraced the Florida Marlins fan base. And again, a guy that when I think of my childhood and going to Marlins games and watching games with my family, immediately one of the first guys I think of.
Yeah.
Great pick.
High energy guy.
Super high energy guy. My last pick, I had a bunch of names and I kind of didn't realize I didn't have his on here, but it's got to be the guy who delivered the 03 World Series, Josh Beckett, just simply for his run in 03. I was a pitcher in my day, and I remember just trying to wrap my head around how clutch he was, how important him coming back on 3 days rest. Jack McKeon completely trusting in him to win that game in Yankee Stadium on 3 days rest, and he goes complete game, like absolutely silences what is a Yankee Stadium, the lore of Yankee Stadium. This guy,
and that Yankee lineup was
stacked. I mean, just an unbelievable run. He has a tremendous career with the Red Sox, the Dodgers, but we had him. It seemed like at his peak, he was one of those fireballers. Him, Burnett, Brad Penny, Carl Pavano, so many likable names on that 03 staff. Just hard to go without Josh Beckett on that list.
I hope when the D Train watches this, he doesn't give Giancarlo a hard time. One of your OG followers, and you didn't include him in your top 3, bro.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
I'll give you a moment to maybe explain yourself now, but
you were the next pick, D Train. You were man.
D-Train was right on my list too, bro.
Man, my honorable mentions are insane. Like it's good players. There's great players. Dontre Willis. I had Ugla on my list. Ivan Rodriguez, even though it was 1 year, I'll never forget his press conference, his introductory press conference. I want to help this team. Yeah. And not only did he help this team, he carried them that playoff run offensively.
Yeah.
And then if I got deep enough, I'm a sucker for utility role playing guys. So I wasn't going to pick one of them. I was going to include all 4 together: Amezaga, Bonifacio, Mike Mordecai, and Andy Fox.
Andy Fox.
Those are deep cuts.
If you morph those 4 guys together, you got a Hall of Fame baseball player.
Oh man, but this was awesome, Giancarlo. I think this snake draft just goes to show us, man, that we're Marlins fans through and through. We've been watching this team for a long time. And I think very sincerely and genuinely, we really hope that this team gets back to the pinnacle that they once were at. And, for fans like us that understand the history of this team, we just can't wait. We're chomping at the bit for it. But, as I mentioned earlier, our sincerest gratitude from Toto and I for hopping on with us, for this being your first intro to the world, showing your face. We love your account. We love what you do. We love what you stand for. There's definitely going to be a home for you in the Mafia whenever you want, man. There's a seat for you whenever you want to hop on and talk about the Marlins with us. We appreciate you, and we look forward to meeting you in person, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You let me know whenever you guys want, man. I'm honored to be on. I really love what you guys are doing, man. Keep it going.
All right, Giancarlo. Thanks so much, bro. Appreciate you.